Hi everyone, my name is Sankey and today I am continuing talking about tongue blocking, and the subject of today's video is about producing single notes tongue blocked, and this is aimed at beginners and people who are just starting to think about using tongue blocking, whether you're just starting the harmonica or whether you're a lip purser, experienced lip purser, and you're thinking about using tongue blocking. Now, I've already uploaded 2 videos on tongue blocking which you may find useful. The first one was talking about 5 good reasons to use tongue blocking, and the second one was what you can do with tongue blocking on the diatonic blues harmonica. And so that was addressing things like, can you bend tongue blocking, can you play first position tongue blocking, can you do overblows tongue blocking, and the short answer is to yes to all those things. So now I'm going to move on to using tongue blocking for single notes. So before we get into the specifics of the exercises I'm going to go through, it's worth covering off a few sort of important points, and also conceptually how the next couple of videos are going to be structured. So the idea is over the next couple of videos you'll be well on the way to using tongue blocking for single note runs within your playing. So the first thing to say is, when you're learning to tongue block, one of the common mistakes is to bite off more than a player can chew, and because of that a technique seems so hard someone gives up. And it's very true with going from lip pursing to tongue blocking. So the first thing to say is that you don't have to completely convert from lip pursing to tongue blocking in one go. So there are players who use a bit of lip pursing and mostly tongue blocking. That's me. So I use 80–90% of tongue blocking. Some players only tongue block. Some players only use lip pursing. So there is a range. So these exercises are very much geared towards the best way to start tongue blocking, in my opinion, especially if you're already a lip purser. So don't think of it about you're having to give up lip pursing. It's using a bit of both, and then over time you can feel your way and find out what balance or bias works for you. Now, some people start to try and learn tongue blocking lower down on the harmonica, so this would be particularly on draw holes 3, 2 and 1. And if you're doing that, again, that can be very difficult, especially with the bends. Now, when you are starting to learn a new embouchure for playing scales, it can be very frustrating, and one of the dangers is, because you can't do things with this technique as well as you can do lip pursing, the temptation will be to revert back to lip pursing and to basically give up. So what you want to do is to make small, confident progress. And the best way of doing that is to start higher up the harp. So don't worry about trying to tongue block draw 3, or I shouldn't say draw 3, but basically on holes 3, 2 and 1. You can move on to that later. Essentially, bass camp is getting tongue blocking from 4 upwards. And that's what we're going to be doing today. And then what I'll do in the other videos is I'll link the exercises we do today into an extending scale, and by the time we get to the end you'll actually be tongue blocking single notes very effectively, I hope. And this is a method that has worked for me and plenty of other players. So what are the exercises? So we're using a C diatonic harmonica, and what we're going to start doing, obviously bass camp, is to produce a single note. So before we can get on to doing scales and riffs, you just want a clean single note. Remember, just like when you were learning to lip purse. So the way I learned to do that was by going through 3 steps, which is to go from a chord to an octave, and then to turn that octave, which is 2 notes tongue blocked, into 1 note tongue blocked. So chord, octave, single note. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on holes 1 to 4, breathing in just to produce that chord. It will sound like this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put our tongue on the harmonica, just like I explained in my octave video. So go and check that out. But essentially we're looking to turn those 4 notes into, so only draw 1 and draw 4 is sounding, and you're tongue blocking holes 2 and 3. Now, as I've said previously before, that sounds really complicated, but actually it isn't. And with some personal experimentation with the position of your tongue, you'll actually find you'll produce that octave sound fairly easily. So the harmonica, unfortunately, isn't one of those instruments like the guitar or the piano where a teacher can just say, I'll do this, etc., etc. It is a very personal instrument, and it is a case of sort of experimenting and finding exactly what works for you. But when you place your tongue on the harmonica, you'll find by feeling this block of wood around the 2, that you'll actually be able to block off the air around holes 2 and 3, and the air will be going either side, and holes 1 and 4 will be sounding. So it will sound like this. So then you've got an octave, which is draw 1, draw 4 sounding. So then this is the key step to produce a single note. So what we're going to do is we're going to aim to make the higher of those 2 notes sound. In this case is the draw 4, which is the 5th interval of the scale and cross position. So we're looking for that draw 4. So you're going chord, octave. Now, to get that single note to fire, again, is a case of sort of personal experimentation. But there are 2 key components I find which makes that octave turn into a single note. Now, I play upside down, so everything I'm saying is reversed, but I'm going to explain it the way that it would be for you. So I tongue block mostly from the left, but most people will be playing the right way up, obviously. So they'll be tongue blocking from the right. So that means that they're tongue blocking with the right side. The air is traveling down this side of the mouth, and the notes this side are tongue blocked, basically. So the way that you go from an octave to a single note and get the higher note of the 2 notes sounding to fire on its own is you tilt the harmonica where the higher note is towards your cheek. So in your case, you're going to be moving the draw 4, almost pulling it into your cheek. And at the same time, because you want the air to be blocked this side, you're going to push your tongue round a bit and put more pressure on one side, almost forcing it into the hole where you can feel either side. So you're going to be tongue blocking around the 2 and the 3 on the octave, and by pushing harder on the right side of that post of wood, you'll actually find, with a bit of experimentation, you'll get one of those notes to sound. That's what you're looking for. Now, of course, you can also tongue block from the other side of your mouth, which in most people's cases will be from the left, where I am most of the time. So you can also experiment with trying to make the lower note, the draw 1, sound on its own. But for the higher note, there's that rotation towards you, and I'm pushing slightly with my tongue this way. So in a way, it's a kind of twisting motion. Now, once you've got that single note, and it sounds more complicated than it is, but personal experimentation, you'll hit it. You've then got to drill it in so you can remember it and hit it every time. So here's some exercise to help you do that. So we're going from a chord to an octave to a single note. So the first thing you can do is miss out that middle step. So you're going to go from a chord to a single note. So if you repeat it normally, once you've got that single note, what you're going to do is you're going to lift your tongue off and go to a chord, and then you're going to go straight back to that embouchure where you've got only one note sounding. So it's going to sound like this. And you get that so that you can go from that chord to that single note every time. Now, if you're starting to do that, you should be able to hear that actually you're well on the way to getting this kind of wonderful, swooshy, sort of tongue slap sound, which is very difficult to do lip pursing. It sounds very thin, although you can imitate it lower down, but up the harmonica it doesn't sound great. So that's this kind of thing. So what you're doing there is you start the breath before the tongue has made the seal, and then the tongue hits a split second afterwards, and that gets that whooshing sound. And obviously you can use that for some great percussive effects. So single note, chord back to a single note on the draw 4. Great way of practicing that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to extend this so that you're actually getting a little bit mobile. So we're going to go for the embouchure, same embouchure, but we're moving to the blow 5 and blow 6 from the draw 4, and then back down. So this is like just a 3-note scale or phrase. So get that single note firing. So with tongue blocking, if you're not bending, you can actually use a very similar embouchure, just like lip pursing, up and down the harmonica. Now it does change a little bit depending on the key of the harmonica you're playing and the reed that you're on. Now tongue blocking, you'll be able to feel and connect to the reeds in a different way that you do when you're lip pursing, which is fantastic, and this is a great way of starting to do that. But fundamentally, the embouchure doesn't change that much. So playing an F harmonica is very different to playing a G harmonica. The embouchure is still the kind of same, but the way that you pull on the reeds is different. And you'll be able to feel that tongue blocked as well. So essentially you're going draw 4, blow 5, blow 6, blow 5, draw 4 as a pattern. Start slow and make sure each note is clean, no air leakage, etc. And gradually build up speed and your confidence. Then you can also introduce these tongue slaps that we talked about, where you're going chord, the note that you want, chord, the note that you want, chord, the note that you want. So here you're going. And eventually you'll be able to go. So I'm starting the air just a split second before the seal is made. And again, gradually build out your confidence. The next exercises you can do is that you can do the draw 4, blow 5, blow 6, but go back to the 4 and repeat it as a pattern. Again, this is a great thing to practice as a beginner doing tongue block single notes. It'll sound like this. And a really cool thing to do, again referencing these tongue slaps, is when you come back to the 4 each time, is to accentuate the beat by doing one of those chord to single note tongue slaps. So you're going. And that's something which is quite hard to do lip pursing, doesn't really sound the same. So those are the kind of first 2 main exercises. There's a couple of sub things in there. So you're going from a chord to an octave to a single note. Then you're going from a chord to a single note. And then you're doing this draw 4, blow 5, blow 6 pattern. Up and down, and then repeating back to the 4 in a cycle. The final exercise that I want to go through on this video, and then I'm going to upload some more, which will extend what we've talked about, is very simply, once you've got a single note produced on the 4 hole, is to learn to play the major scale in the middle register of the harmonica tongue blocked, just like you would lip pursing. So the way that we're going to do that is, instead of starting on that draw 4 chord, the 1, 2, 3, 4 holes all together, we're going to start with those holes blowing. So we're going to blow 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to turn it into an octave and then a single note. So you've got blow 4 as a single note. Now once you've got that, you're going to move up the C major scale, in this case because we're in C, we're going to go up, major scale, first position, tongue blocked, and then back down. And that will teach you the control, and it will teach you the embouchure, and it will teach you to hit each note cleanly. And this is all bass camp if you want to move on to actually be able to go on. And that's all tongue blocked. So to get there, got to be able to do these fundamentals. So this exercise starts off with a chord, octave, single note, C major. It sounds like this. Okay, and that's all tongue blocked, and this will teach you, as I said, the embouchure, the control, and to make sure there's no air leakage. And once you get confident, you should be able to, you know, up and down, practice with control. So I hope you found that useful. That's just the very start of producing tongue block notes, single notes, and we're going to use those 3 exercises as a foundation to move forward over the next couple of videos. But you've got to be able to produce one single note before you can move on to producing runs and scales and bending tongue blocked. So I will see you on the next video. I hope you found it useful. Thanks.